Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris, aka Starrapter, joined by the full crew with Milton and with Ben. This week, we're talking about all of the San Diego Comic-Con 2023 reveals, all the news coming out of the biggest pop culture convention on the planet. So, yes, very excited to dive into things from Hasbro reveals to looks at really cool things that were used in an upcoming series for Ahsoka, and even some video game news. So we're going to dive into all that this week on Outer Rim Transmission. Ben, we didn't have you here last week. How's it going, man?
Good. It was a nice couple weeks, and I ready to start talking Star Wars again. I mean, I watched your guys' episode last week. It was a really good breakdown, and I'm ready to hop back on here again.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot to say about the Ahsoka trailer. Right off the top, if you want to give us like a quick 1 minute just reaction to what you've seen, I'm sure everybody out there would like to hear your thoughts.
Yep. All right. So I think the trailer was. I really thought about it at first, so it wasn't just hyperbole. But I really think that was the best trailer Disney Star Wars has released. If it's not the best, it's either tied with the first Force Awakens trailer for hype level. I think for me. So I think it's on that level of hype. And then in terms of the contents of the trailer, I think it was just great. Like, it gave you a sense of what's going on, gave you an idea of who the bad guy was. Of course, we saw some awesome action sequences. And then, of course, all of the stuff. I mean, what we were watching as hardcore fans, and for, of course, our listeners and viewers, I'm sure, of the podcast, we're basically watching a trailer for Rebels Season 5 for all intents and purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it is. There were several shots throughout the trailer that were taken and lifted completely from Rebels, which makes me think, because I saw some side-by-side shots in the last couple of weeks, like the shot of Lothal, shot of Sabine, shot of Ezra, etc., etc. Like, those different shots were lifted right from like the Rebels season finale. So to me, I think, this is my bold prediction, I think we might actually maybe get kind of a flashback in live action to the Rebels finale to catch up the audience who didn't watch it. I think that's what's going to happen, because why else would they show that same imagery? So I think we have that. And then I think the big takeaway, of course, you have all the great action stuff. Ray Stevenson looks great as Balin. And I think the biggest takeaway, though, is Thrawn. Thrawn looks great, sounds great. And I'm just, it really pushed my hype level to where it needs to be even more for the series. And then I think it made overall a really good impact on, in terms of hype across social media as well. So it did its job there, and yeah, I'm ready to go.
Heck yeah. As I was saying, and Milton were saying on last week's podcast, I think what this trailer does well is it encapsulates so many great elements of Star Wars, whether it's the little nuanced, nitty-gritty things, like I was saying with Sabine and a gun turret, nostalgic for that gunning scene in A New Hope, to having those mystery boxes, ooh, who is this masked character, Marak, that's a Inquisitor, and what's going on with Balin and Shin and all these different characters, right? It's got that kind of Force Awakens feel, as you put it, to where it's literally, okay, we have so many questions already, and they're giving us those big, impactful character moments inside of the actual trailer, such as, oh my gosh, a master? Wait, since when has Sabine been training under Ahsoka? And is she Force sensitive? So it's been giving us those really big, large-scale pictures of what's happening with different characters, and it's almost like, is this really meant to be called Ahsoka? Because it feels like maybe it should be called the New Republic, I don't know, or some other grander title, because it almost seems more like an ensemble type of thing, like a movie would have, than a specific series like Book of Boba Fett or something.
Yeah, I mean, just to be real quick on this point too, you have that ensemble feel to it. It feels to me, almost of course, Rebels, of course, but it feels like the original trilogy in a way of hey, we get our big three heroes going on an adventure together, Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera, and instead of Han, Luke, and Leia. So I think it does good at that, but also, this is a little detail, of course, that we would talk about in a more expansive podcast, is I'm sure our eagle-eyed viewers, and I'm sure you guys as well, like, it makes me wonder who the character was standing behind Thrawn in the trailer. It could be just a nobody, like just in the background or something. But man, I kept pausing that trailer and looking at it, and like I took a screenshot and zoomed in and was like, man, you can't even tell who that is. Like, but there is a character standing behind Thrawn, and I feel like they purposely put them in there just because they will be like it'll be something. Maybe, I mean, maybe that's like Filoni's new version that of Rook or something, like his bodyguard there. So maybe it's something like that. But yeah, like that was an interesting little mystery box thrown in the trailer as well. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's going to be a really good time. And I think the best takeaway for me, if I had to summarize the trailer, would be it feels like we are watching live action animation. Like you can tell Dave Filoni knows how to translate animation to live action perfectly, because it looks like I could picture that whole trailer in animation, and now we're getting it in live action. So that would be my big summary. It just feels like we're watching live action animation.
Yeah, it certainly does. Milton, it's good to see you. I know we were having a little bit of tech issues, but we're good on all fronts here on the podcast. So what's been going on the last week? Have you had any time to dwell on some Star Wars, watch any videos, listen to any audiobooks, play any new Star Wars games? Oh, I have to catch up with you, man. Have you played that Rebel Assault game that you picked up like a month ago?
Yeah, I tried to. For some reason, it wasn't working very well on the PS2, so I need to it loads up, but it doesn't play yet. So maybe I need to find PlayStation 1 somewhere, because I do want to play that game. I was looking at it on YouTube the other day just to see what it looks like again, and I'm like, yeah, I played this when I was a kid, but I may have to find an original PlayStation just to play it, which that's fine with me. I know plenty of places to get one.
I got one hooked up in the basement that I still play Tony Hawk Pro Skater once a year when my parents usually have Christmas and my cousins and my niece and nephew over, and I'm showing them, oh, this is the game I used to play for hours on end. Doesn't it look so cool? And it's like little sprites now.
And I know it works because, like I said, legit it boots up and then it goes black. But maybe I need to be more patient and let it load up. But I don't have that patience for it because I just want to play it. As for games, like I said, the last time I played a Star Wars game I was still working on Super Star Wars and Super Empire. And I want to sit down and play Battlefront because I got Battlefront 2, so I want to play both of those eventually. And my brother and I were talking about, I'm trying to find him another copy of Battlefront 2 so I can give him our other PlayStation 2 and he can play that as well. So, yeah, it's, me, I'm always about looking for the games, and I'm currently looking for some current games now, for the old system. So that's pretty much been my week of Star Wars. I did buy the Rogue One, not the art of, what's the other one? The
Visual Dictionary?
Yes, the Visual Dictionary.
There's some good stuff in there.
Week. I haven't looked at it yet, but I want to look at it sometime this week. And then as for my main thing in Star Wars, it's more like news, but obviously I sent you guys that article about John Boyega. He's promoting that new movie on Netflix called A Clone Tyrone with Jamie Foxx and him. He talked about his thoughts on The Last Jedi, and I mean, look, John Boyega and I can be friends because he knows exactly what he's talking about. That movie ain't that great, and he said it. I mean, he said it. But that's pretty much been my week in Star Wars. Ready to get into it. Hopefully, we have a good podcast tonight.
Oh yeah, so we're kind of catching up with the news. We're gonna have a briefer show. I don't know if it's briefer. We've been shooting for an hour regardless anyway. Although some weeks we go a little bit over, but we are on a little bit of a time limit tonight. But we're gonna throw it over to Ben. Ben, Star Wars. Anything in your life that has been happening recently as far as new? How's your read through or listen, whatever it is however you consume the stories on the page? Yeah, I know you're currently in one of the books.
Yeah, so I'm currently on I'm currently on The Last Command. The third book of the original Thrawn trilogy, and I can tell you exactly. So I have 3 hours and 17 minutes left of it. So I'm almost done with The Last Command. I'll have that done in the next probably 2 days. And that book's been phenomenal. It's been amazing, and just the stories, the character. I think that's the big part. I mean, Milton can relate, but that's the big part. You know, the reason why people love a lot of these Legends books so much. Like this, the Zahn trilogy, of course, is like, you know, the Mount Everest, like the peak of Star Wars books. But it's just the characters. The characters are all so good. Like they're developed so well. Luke's character goes through such a great arc through these books. Mara Jade, like her character, it's great to see where they're at. So like right now in the book, it's right at the part where Han and Luke and Chewie and Mara and Lando and the droids, they go to Wayland because, you know, we're getting the lead up to like the big climax of the book. And the great thing is with this, it really got me thinking toward the Ahsoka series as well as the Filoni movie, especially considering Bad Batch, since Bad Batch has already, you know, referenced Mount Tantus and Wayland and all this stuff. Like, it makes you wonder, like, you know, while I was listening to this today, I was like, man, I wonder, I mean, you know, we have Wayland in the book, we have Mount Tantus in Bad Batch, all this stuff. And the interesting little snippet I got out of the book today was, you know, Thrawn, like, talking, you know, basically his backup plan, you know, to potentially make some clones in, like, the outer region, unknown region and stuff. And it makes you wonder, like, what they're going to end up potentially, like, pulling, say, from imagery or concepts from these books. Because, you know, right now Thrawn is, like, in the basically unknown regions for all intents and purposes in canon. And then, you know, that was kind of his plan in these books. And then on top of it, like, I don't know, there's just a lot of, like, imagery and, like, concepts I feel like that they definitely probably have taken from these original books. So I think you have that, like, in terms of, like, it can potentially connect to the current stuff. But, you know, these books are standalone on, you know, as they are. Like, I tweeted before the show a half hour ago and said, hey, like, if I could greenlight a trilogy, like, you know, I would greenlight, like, a carbon copy pretty much of the Zahn trilogy because it's just so good. So yeah, that's my thing. I'm wrapping up the original Zahn trilogy, and then we'll see what I go on to next, because I have another credit for Audible. So, yeah, I got another book coming here soon. I mean, I'll be able to give the full book review next week.
Oh, great. And yeah, I mean, we keep saying here, they you know, Dave Filoni, and we're going to talk about a story later on that has to do with San Diego Comic-Con, a certain vehicle that has been plucked out of Legends and put into canon in live action. You know, that's a lot to say right there. So yeah, it's cool seeing these things cherry picked. We got Wayland, we got that Mount Tantus, all that stuff is happening. Yep. Maybe I was expecting to see that in season 3 of Mando. I thought that one shot of the scientist guy walking through with the other female officer, I thought that was technically going to be like a Wayland sequence or something. I know other people thought that as well. But yeah, it's cool seeing it all pick through. Speaking of the overall the audio thing, Audible, your next book and all that.
Yep.
I've already been recommending this one. This will flow right into what's out this week as well as what's been my Star Wars week. I'll tackle two birds with one stone on this one. I literally just finished, and you can actually watch the review, my time with Star Wars Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah S. Dawson was awesome. I mean, I tore through this book in about 3 days. I was eating lunch reading this thing. I was eating breakfast reading this thing. I was fitting in what time I could to try to get through this book, because it wasn't just, I wanted to get this review up. I was engrossed in the book because I was engaged with the story. And these are the kind of books that I could easily recommend to any Star Wars fan, because there's no, like, homework, quote unquote, that you have to read, right? I can't recommend High Republic Phase 2 or Phase 3 book because, you guys have to read like 15 books to get to this point. Whereas this book is like, this is the quintessential kind of gold standard, I would call it, for a Star Wars book that you can pick up and read, because 90% of the characters in here are made just for this book. So there's a sense of boldness to it, a sense of Delilah S. Dawson like swings for the fences when she's coming to consequence and character decisions. It's a deep dive. It's one of the first Star Wars books I've ever read where it's focused on one perspective the entire book. You're not jumping between, her lover for a chapter, then going back to her. And it's literally just all about her the entire book. So I thought that was kind of refreshing to just have that, because sometimes I'm reading a Star Wars book and they purposely do a cliffhanger, and then with this one character, and then you go to this other character, and then another character after that. I'm sitting there reading it like, just I want to see what the resolution was of 2 chapters ago with this character. It's great seeing this play out the way it does in this book. Plus, the character of Iskat Akaris, who is this Inquisitor, we get her full journey from Jedi to Jedi Knight to Inquisitor. And I already said this before. I said this is a better turning of somebody from a Jedi to a dark side user than I think that Anakin Skywalker was. I feel like just the kind of organic and logical distrust in a Jedi. I think Delilah Dawson does a great job with showcasing why the Jedi fell. It wasn't just because Palpatine was pulling the strings. Like, themselves as an organization just were becoming just so into themselves, and we've seen this all before, right? It's nothing new, but the way that Delilah Dawson writes it makes it more evident than ever that you would actually pick her side, and you could actually understand, like, yeah, maybe I would even join a dark side if I was going through some of the crap that I was going through, because it's very much a story about a black sheep. She is an unknown species to Star Wars, and she feels like the outsider even in the Jedi Order. You know, she has this backstory where she ends up, causing havoc to a certain degree, and after that everybody looks at her like, that one kid that you always knew in school that nobody would kind of talk, and that plays on you, and it really gets into. I love how Delilah S. Dawson writes this book from her own personal experience. There's a nice note in the front of the book that I've never seen a Star Wars author put in there, and it really puts things in perspective right before you jump into the book. Like, okay, we are getting into some really deep stuff in this book, like some really dark and really deep stuff that is happening in this book. And it's so refreshing because we're dealing with these characters and you're seeing her threading through the points of major sequences in the prequels and through Order 66. So you're getting like Geonosis and stuff like that. There's so much happening here. But again, it's all fresh. It's all like, okay, what's happening in this corner of this scene over here? As this is happening, that we're seeing it on screen. You're getting a lot of those sort of moments. You're seeing the Clone Wars played out probably in one of the best ways I've ever seen. Like, we don't get a lot of the actual toll this is taking on the Jedi. And in this book, it's giving us, oh, the Jedi. Oh, did you guys know that, 200, 300 Jedi went to Geonosis and only 29 survived? Like, the Jedi are literally falling from a sense of their perspective, as well as their numbers are like drastically getting declined to the point where they're having to promote Jedi Padawans to Jedi Knights just to get them out there to get field experience. Like, it's pretty bad when the Jedi Masters are just getting killed left and right, and things have to get expedited. And when that happens, then things start to fall through the wayside, and certain restrictions and regulations that would normally be in cause to keep people under control aren't there anymore. And I'm not trying to make this like a 30-minute podcast, because I probably could just on this book, but what I can say, and I'm sure you guys could all see it on my face and hear it, like, yes, this is one of the best Star Wars books I've read in the last probably 5 years. It's that good, and I think it's the best entry-level book. I always get that question, what book do I start with? I'm going to point to this book now. Honestly, like, if you have any kind of interest in Inquisitor's dark side, you like Clone Wars, this is the book for you, easily. And I have my review that's probably a little bit more succinct on my points on the channel right now. So if you want to see like more of my points on that, check that video out on the channel, youtube.com/Starrapter. By the way, I didn't even do a proper introduction for the show. Yes, this is on YouTube if you are listening to it, and if you are watching and you want to hear it on a podcast streaming app of your choice, just check out Outer Rim Transmission. We're on Spotify, Google, Apple, and all the other ones, so check that out. But yeah, I think you guys really enjoyed this one. I already told you, Ben, like, probably a good idea to pick this one up when you're done with your current read or listen.
Sounds good, man.
All right, getting into the show proper, we're going to talk all about San Diego Comic-Con 2023. So a little bit of a preamble to this. This was definitely, and I put out a tweet on this earlier. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I usually follow the news pretty closely out of this convention, because we're used to getting a lot of big announcements. This is where the Marvel stuff usually drops. This is where the DC stuff usually drops. A lot of movies, and obviously, there's a writer strike, there is an actor strike. So nobody can actually go out and promote what they're working on. It's part of the rules and regulations of the guilds, of the unions that all these people are part of. So this is kind of going back to what Comic-Con initially was all about in 1976, I believe, is when it first started. When even Star Wars had a presence there with with Mark Hamill and everybody. This is really what the heart of this is all about: art. Just artists, as well as comic books, writers, artists, toys, video games, all the ancillary stuff that I don't want to degrade it calling ancillary, but all the stuff that's in addition to the movies, all the other kinds of entertainment. That's what Comic-Con has always been about. And it wasn't until about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago that Hollywood was like, ooh, let's cash in on this and like get all of our celebrities over there, and we'll get an extra little push for our genre type based movies. And so it's kind of interesting, like looking at the news, we're not getting like huge crazy stuff that people on Twitter are going crazy about, but we are still getting the things that you would normally get. We're going to talk about publishing a little, we're going to talk about Hasbro, we're going to talk about video games, props of upcoming series that are showcased on the floor. They still have all the booths, all that stuff. So yeah, getting into, I don't know if you guys have if you've been following anything about the convention in general, besides Star Wars or anything. I haven't found anything that's been super like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But I'm sure I'm going to try to go next year, of course, when things should be back to normal. But it looks like it's a good time anyway. I haven't seen anybody saying much.
I mean, I feel like Comic-Con is, in my opinion, it's kind of fell off the last couple of years. I mean, it has a lot to do with COVID, obviously, the big thing.
Yep.
Thing is too, though, a lot of these studios been trying to find a reason to pull out of it. I mean, look at years when it wasn't even pre-COVID. How many years when Marvel or DC or Disney would be like, "Hey, we're not going to show something this year. We're not going to have a panel. We're going to show it at E3?
Yeah,
D23.
D23,
E3 or something like that, or like New York Comic-Con or something. Like they find reasons to not want to always bring panels there. So I'm sure it's an expense to them.
Oh yeah.
So it may be cheaper. It may be cheaper for them to just do it in their own way of controlling it. I mean, and look, Disney has its own streaming network, so if they wanted to, they can just stream something off of Disney Plus. Like kind of like what's the DC one that they do?
Fandom.
Yeah. So DC Fandom did that, which was great for them. Like they controlled their property. They were able to release things on there and show it in a way that's okay. It's all about DC. We don't have to mix it with Marvel or compete with Disney or whomever. So it makes sense that these studios would find a reason to back out. I mean, I do remember, like you said, Chris, I look forward to Comic-Con every year. Like within the last 10 years, I've always made a point not to watch everything live, but at least like, hey, if I saw a trailer, or at least go back and watch a panel later when it was able to be, put on YouTube. Really enjoyed that. Now it's like, okay, they may announce something, or a lot of times I get it off of Instagram, or you guys put it in the page or the group chat. So I'm just like, okay. Like, I mean, they really don't give us a reason to actually be on the computer, 4 hours, 5 hours a day waiting for them to drop something. I mean, that's not feasible for me because, your boy works all day. But even if I wasn't working, or if I had some time throughout the day, I would say, oh, let me check YouTube real quick, see if they drop something. Like, I don't look forward to that anymore. Even for what's the other convention? Star Wars Celebration. Like, yeah, you go to that, which is dope. But like, at least Star Wars Celebration has it done right to where they're saying, okay, when you come here, we're dropping stuff, but you better pay attention. And even like for their I love how they stream it those 3 or 4 days. Okay, great. I can go back and watch it later in the weekend if I can't get to it like live. So I love how Star Wars does it now, which is amazing.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to San Diego Comic-Con, or even like any of the other cons that are not D23 or DC Fandom, etc., it's hard for them to compete with those cons because, all right, for D23, for example, you have whoever to host it. For Star Wars Celebration, you have what, Warwick Davis hosting it, or Mark Hamill, or whoever.
Yeah.
You have big personalities. I mean, DC Fandom. I mean, they had James Gunn host the entire thing, and James Gunn was great at it. Like, he put on a good show. He had, he really like worked the presentation, and it was really, really good. So like, it's hard to compete against that when you just have like a host or something, So like, they have that built in, and then like from the studio's perspective, it's like, like you were saying, Milton, why would I pay San Diego Comic-Con however much to rent out a space when we have Disney Plus to work with, or our own D23 event, or our own whatever event? Like it's a hard thing to do. But yeah, like, the good thing is, at least, even without like all the actors and creatives there, at least we're still getting these potential like new product announcements that we're going to be going over, and video games and things like that. Because if it wasn't for those things, I mean, these conventions would be pretty much in the dust, because like, how big of a percentage of people are actually, like, say, comic book readers actually going to that? Like, sure, there are a lot of them, but a lot of people go to those conventions for the celebrities, the announcements, the products. Like, that's the hard part, being in 2023 now with so many things being digital.
Oh yeah. So let's get into those product announcements. First off, this one was really strange. I had to do a little bit of digging on this one. I know the guys at the Star Wars Underworld have a presence at San Diego Comic-Con. Shout out to Dominic over there. Hopefully I'll be joining you next time, man. See if I can get tickets for 2024. I know there's a bunch of us that are trying to go next year because there's no celebration. So if any of you guys listen to the show and you're thinking about going, maybe we can all coordinate something. To any viewers, listeners, you guys, whatever. But yeah, so this was interesting. They had a Lego booth, and I don't know if you guys seen the Lego booth, but it was really cool. It looked like a Blockbuster video. Did you see that one, Ben?
No, I haven't seen that one, but I'm gonna have to look it up.
It's called like Brickbuster or something, and it was so cool. I guess that's their booth that you could buy the new Legos. Anyway, they had like coming attractions like they would in Blockbuster. It was a total nostalgia trip. And they had something crossed off or partially blocked that you could tell it was like the first STA and then the couple like IAN or something. So it was like Star Wars Mandalorian, basically. And I guess they eventually revealed it later on in the weekend, but basically what it is, it's like this Star Wars Mandoween. So we had Terrifying Tales a couple years ago. And now we're getting a proper Mandalorian-themed Lego special. So that's cool. I don't know why this isn't, like, official news. Like, I looked all over the internet. Like, I'm surprised StarWars.com doesn't have anything. There's no official announcement, but yet it was on there. Unless this is a total, like, false thing that they were trying to, like, be funny about it. I don't know, but like USA Reporter or somebody reported on it, so I'm guessing there's got to be some credence to it if journalists are talking about it out there. But I just found that weird that there's like no information on this thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Brickbuster thing now. That's really cool, actually, how they set that up. I'm looking at a picture. But yeah, like the Mandalorian thing, it's interesting. Like you said, they didn't like. Maybe it was just meant to be like a preview because they're gonna do like it's a perfect time to announce it after Ahsoka's over, because by the time Ahsoka's done, it'll be October at some point.
Oh,
So think about it, like it would just get crushed here in the next coming weeks, like any news about it. So maybe they just kept it as a preview, like as just a little early teaser for it, and then maybe they just be like, as soon as Ahsoka ends, like a week later. I don't know, say if it's the middle of October or whatever, they're like, hey guys, October 31st or whatever day Halloween is, 30th, boom, there's Mandoween, and we get a Lego Halloween Mandalorian special. Maybe it's something like that. And for me, I'm all for it, because like I like the different holiday special things for Star Wars or Marvel or whatever, just because like I think it's fun when movies and shows incorporate those things, even if it's just this Lego form. So I'm looking forward to it, and it'll be interesting to see if it actually comes to fruition, or if it was just like a fun little, just teaser thing.
Yeah, I would like to see if they actually spin sort of semi-canonical credence to like, what if there actually is a thing that people celebrate in Star Wars that has to do with like Mandalorians around the time of October, or
Yep.
like they would have a fall type of celebration where like people would go around like carrying helmets and filling them with candy or something like that. Like you removed your helmet, but it's okay because it's Mandoween. You get this one day out of the year you can take your helmet off. You could go to these different houses and collect candy. I don't know, but I would
Hey,
like
there
to
we
see
go.
them like spin some kind of like cool celebration and like make it canon in Star Wars. Like all we really have is Life Day right now. I think we need a couple other like official holidays.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And while we're on the topic of Lego, this is official. No deny. This was at the Lego booth. It was two new Lego sets based off of Ahsoka. We have one that contains an E-wing. Yes, I said E-wing as in me and Milton were talking about this last week. That's like the first appeared in Legends and Dark Empire. It literally looks like a X-wing with the engines just on the bottom of the wing, so it kind of does give you that E appearance from above. And that also comes with a Shin ship, which looks like a World War II like Nazi kind of bomber type of or like fighter, which is very interesting, very cool kind of real life concept that was brought into Star Wars. And there's also a separate set that contains Ahsoka's T6 shuttle. So yeah, Lego, man, Lego is always doing it right. I remember when Mandalorian season 3 was coming out, right after the third or fourth episode with the spider thing and the Mandalorian mines, they had already revealed that they're doing that Lego set. Here we go, we're having a trailer. E-wing shows up, boom, they put out their Lego set. Like Lego's doing this, why doesn't Hasbro do this? You know what I mean? It's like kind of weird.
Yep.
But what'd you think? What'd you guys think about? Did you guys either of you get a chance to look at these designs, or just a thought on Legend ship? I know we were talking about this last week, Milton, but Ben, if you want to talk about anything like being cherry picked
Yeah.
from Legends or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Anytime they use Legends material like that, I mean, we could do a whole podcast on the value of Legends, but I think, it's great getting, because I saw so many people excited on social media about the E-Wing being back in Star Wars and blah, 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 and all these things. And like, to me, it's like continue to cherry pick more and more from Legends. Like, you might as well. The stories are so rich there. I mean, look, I opened the podcast talking about how great the Zahn trilogy was. Like, you can pull from so many great things from Legends. So the E-Wing is just like another great example of that. And yeah, it was exciting seeing it, and it's cool that they're putting it in Lego form, which makes me think it's going to be a prominent ship in the Ahsoka series.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could be, it could not be. I mean, there's been a lot of times where we get a figure or a
True.
piece of merch, and it's like, oh, look at this Praetorian Guard, and they're around. They actually did something
Knights
cool
of
though.
Ren.
Yeah.
Also, we got Phasma and Knights of Ren.
Mm-hmm.
True.
They did nothing.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. It's I don't believe nothing until we actually see it.
Good point.
Oh man, I'm just curious, like what the capabilities of an E-wing are. I haven't really read the legend stuff. Like, you got your X-wings, or your like all around good ship. You got your A-wings, which are the really fast ones. You got your Y-wings, which are the bombers. Your B-wings are kind of like a cross between a bomber and an X-wing. It's like, all right, what's the E-wings special kind of thing? What's going on there? It looks like it still uses an astromech, so. I'm just curious, very curious. I love the as I was saying last week, I love the fleets in Star Wars. I'm happy that we're getting the bigger picture with that mustering of those ships that we're seeing in the trailer. With the looks like it could be home. One is back again in glory, so I'm all for it. I'm all for this when it comes to the ships. Speaking of Hasbro, I gotta give Hasbro credit. I know I just kind of threw some shade a minute ago, but. Oh my gosh, people have gotten their wish. And we now have the Ghost for HasLab. And that is, like the crowdfunding thing similar to the Sail Barge and the Razor Crest. I'm surprised but maybe I shouldn't be, that they actually are doing another one of these, because the other two failed so hard. Like, you had the Inquisitor Reva's lightsaber, which I don't think barely got any. I mean, the problem was a lot of people just weren't a fan of the character, so why would they buy the lightsaber for the character that they didn't really like? And then we also had the Rancor, and that was like the most obvious safe choice, and like we've gotten so many Rancors before. But as the last time I looked, as of an hour ago, in which San Diego Comic-Con is still apparently going on, this thing had like 90% of its backing already in like 2 days. The Ghost only needs 8,000 people. It has about 7,000.
Oh yeah, they'll get it, I'm sure.
And it's on for another several weeks. People have been pining. I pining for this thing, because I remember seeing like a couple hours before the panel. I'm Facebook groups with a couple collecting groups, and they're like, "Oh, please be the Ghost, please be the Ghost." Like, there was people mocking up the Ghost, like on one of those pedestals that they would reveal it on. And sure enough, they revealed the Ghost. And I just got some photos from, I guess, Dominic or whoever's representing the Star Wars Underworld over there right now. Got photos I sent to you guys in the Facebook chat literally 30 minutes ago, and it's right there. You can see it in person if you're at Comic-Con, and it looks freaking massive. It's huge.
Oh yeah, it's cool that they're doing this, especially with the Ahsoka series. So it's not just like a random ship, like the Falcon or something. Like, it's good that they're aligning it up with the Ahsoka series coming out. And I mean, hey, it's smart marketing on their part.
Yeah, I got the exact dimensions here. It's measuring over 28 inches by 34 inches, and it's over 11 inches tall, with the capacity to hold up to 15 figures. By the way, this is for the vintage collection. And it comes with a Harrison Dula. So it's insane. Like, you got it's basically like the old school like Millennium Falcon, but a lot bigger and a lot more detail. But it's like that Falcon, in which you could take the panels off, and you could see like their little lounge. You could see like the separate rooms that like Ezra has and Zeb has. You have the turrets. You even have a Phantom too, in which Chopper was sticking out of. Like, oh my gosh, if I actually had another room to put something this size in, I would buy it, because it's coming in at a steep $4.99, but I think it's probably going to be like a must-have for collectors out there. This thing looks awesome for like a play set, like, which 500 is actually the going rate for the sail barge when that was revealed, so it's not like too much out of the range. I don't know how much. I think the Razor Crest is probably 200 to 300, I'm guessing. This is obviously much larger than that, because this is an actual freighter. But man, imagine being a kid on Christmas and your parents like secretly get this for you, and you're opening this thing up as massive shit. Like, best Christmas ever. That's what I would say to that.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, that's a definitely good. It's a good, like you said, it's a collector's item. But yeah, I mean, getting that big of a thing. I mean, it's cool that, like you said, it harkens back to the old days with the Falcon and it just being more detailed and stuff.
Yeah, if you guys could get one Star Wars anything made in this function with HasLab, do you have any thoughts? Any ships? Any like actual sets of anything within reason? Like, nothing like crazy out of scale, but
I mean, I'd probably take a Death Star. I mean, if you build me like a significant size Death Star where I can open it up, sure. I mean, I think I would take that.
Yeah, I think that could be feasible with the vintage. You don't have to. You can have like a big sphere and take certain panels off. Maybe it could be like 2 feet in diameter, and there's maybe like 4 or 5. You have like your trash compactor room. You have like a little hangar area. That'd be pretty neat.
That'd be fire.
That's a good idea, Milton. I think for me, like, if I could pick anyone, especially coming off of reading the Thrawn trilogy plus Ahsoka coming up, an easy choice I think for me, it'd be cool to get the Chimera and have Thrawn, Captain Pelion, Rook, like have a little crew. I don't know, have it feasible for like 20 figures or something, 25 figures, and like have a, obviously a Star Destroyer, you can't have it too big, but have a good size, like, I don't know, 3-foot long Star Destroyer like Chimera, and I think that would be great.
Yeah, to actually have a realistic size of vintage figures, I don't think there's like a lot of choices you could really go with. I'm really racking my brain. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is just like, where's the High Republic figures? So I'm like, I keep anticipating these panels, like, oh, this is the one they're gonna reveal High Republic figures. But if they could do like a High Republic thing, give me a long beam. A long beam is like they're a bigger like transport that would, have Republic soldiers and Jedi. It's bigger than a gunship, so if you had vintage figures, it would probably still be like 3 or 4 feet long anyway. But yeah, come on, where's our High Republic figures? Because as we look at the other things that were revealed on the panel, there is really nothing else that I could recall that was all that exciting, if you ask me. Let's see, you have another Ahsoka, obviously the one from the show. You have the Sabine, that's from the show. You have a Hera, that's from the show. You have another R2-D2. You have a Life Day Wookiee. That one threw me for a loop. I was like, okay, they're gonna use up resources to make a generic Wookiee with a red cloak. Like, really? Like, are there that many people asking for a Life Day Wookiee? I mean, this is based off of the terrible freaking Star Wars holiday special you're making a toy of before High Republic. How dare you, Hasbro? How dare you? Of course, I'm just kind of joking, but I'm like, really though? I guess somebody's gonna like that, and somebody's gonna have that, or they're gonna have it next to like an illicit copy cover VHS of Holiday Special, which I've seen in person at our local movie theater in Brooklyn. They actually have somebody mocked up that VHS, and they have it on their VHS walls of like infamy or whatever. But
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of holidays, they have another holiday set of figures where it's like you get a certain trooper that looks like a candy cane, and those kind of guys. They've released those a lot in the past. The one that's interesting the most for me is the fact that we're getting a pre-Vizsla Black Series and Vintage Series figure. That one's cool because like that's unique. Like that's not like based off anything that's coming out for like a time for a series. Like I like the figures like that just kind of come out of the blue. They're really cool, badass looking characters, and it's like, yeah, he even comes with a Darksaber. So yeah, I'm not a collector as I always say anymore. I just have too many of these things that I just have in storage right now. So there's no point in buying them if I can't actually show them off.
I was about to say, like, where do you store everything? Because there's no way you have room in your room, right?
No, I just have a couple. I have like probably like 5 or 6 of these things just like packed away. And after I started doing it, I was like, it's not even worth it. I had the high idea to be like the grand idea to basically like switch out my background, which I will do one day, to put like the newer figures back there, but at this point I'm just like, yeah.
What's your plan moving forward? Because I'm curious about this. Like, so you have all your stuff. Is your girl cool with you having all this stuff?
Oh yeah, she doesn't really mind it. So what happened was, once I got into the miniatures, that's where all my exposable income went. Before the miniatures, it was the Hasbro figures. And now that I do this other stuff, which I enjoy a lot more than just buying a figure, I like actually like creating the figure. Then I only have room/finances for one of those things. I never had that many figures to begin with. At least I don't think this is many compared to like hardcore collectors, but
facts.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if your girl's like, hey, let's get a place together, blah blah blah. So if I want to have a kid someday, blah blah blah, you're gonna have to make a sacrifice, my man.
hey, Melton Hill say, hey, we'll save all these figures and stuff for the kids.
Yeah, basically.
Nah. First of all, there's no way, because I have wrestling action figures that I say that are like in a box, like literally like just a regular box. Like if I ever have children, like they'll be like, oh, their dad's into cool like nerdy stuff, but you ain't playing with this stuff. Like, come on, man. Like, it's just now because we're at a point in our life where we understand the market value.
Yep.
So it's like you might as well just try to like repackage that stuff and like sell it off later. Like literally, like, and I bring this point up because, I'm sure, Chris, you have in your collection of stuff that you probably have a lot of valuable things that if you sold it, and I'm assuming it's all in still good condition, knowing you, like if you sold it, you probably make a good chunk of money out of it, correct?
Yeah, I have a Revan that's probably over $100. I have a couple guys. Yeah, like it's ridiculous. Like I have a pop figure
But,
that's worth over $300 right now. Or actually, I think it's up to 500.
yeah, so think about like in 20 years, like when we're older and we may have families at this point.
Mm.
Like literally, I go to this one place that's 20 minutes away from me in the other town over, and Power Rangers, for example. Like I'm a huge Power Ranger fan as a child, obviously. And looking back on it, is thinking, man, I wish I would have saved certain things because I'm seeing they have the Megazords, whether it's the Dino, Thunder, Ninja, White Tiger, Red, whatever. And they're like 200, 300, $400 a pop.
Oh yeah.
It's like, if I'd obviously as a child, you don't think about that. You don't think about, hey, 20 years from now when I'm 30 something, 40 something, I'm gonna resell this. You're thinking, no, I'm gonna play with this forever, and I want to play with it now. Just looking back on it, it's like, damn, I kind of wish I would have had these Megazords.
That's why
even like the Star Wars figures too. So it's like, yeah, I mean, your collection is dope, but I'm curious to see what will happen with that whenever you decide to take that next phase of your life with your person.
Yeah, well, put it this way, we're definitely gonna have to get a place that actually has 2 livable rooms, one for the collectibles, one to actually sleep in. Because there's a lot of... Oh, man.
Great.
All right, so moving on to our publishing side of things, we had the Lucasfilm Publishing panel. Quick thoughts, kind of like the Celebration one that I was not super stoked on. There wasn't really any new books announced. It was kind of like, oh, here's a bunch of cover art, which is really cool and can, give you, previews of what's to come, but... I was like, oh, where's our new Inquisitor type of level of reveal book, right? Or something like that. So, yeah, we got the first phase of the High Republic, or third phase, Wave 1. So, all the comics for that stuff coming out at the end of this year, all the covers have been revealed. The characters are now older. It's a year later, so not much older, but older and more experienced nonetheless. Speaking of visual guides, I know this one's going to interest you, Milton, since you just bought the Rogue One visual guide, but they actually have another visual guide coming out in November called The Age of Rebellion, or Dawn of Rebellion. And if you guys are aware, they have recently done like a new timeline for Star Wars, and Dawn of Rebellion is part of like the timeline as one of the eras that starts with like Star Wars Rebels, and it goes to like the Battle of Jakku or something. So anyway, this visual dictionary is actually going to give us the guides for Andor, Obi-Wan, Bad Batch, so like all in that area of the timeline. So like they have preview pages for like Fortress Inquisitorius, for House Organa, for the Rise of the Stormtroopers. So, like out of all things, like I'm always a sucker for these type of like reference books because those always have like the little nitty gritty details that I really like get absorbed into. Like, oh, what's this character doing over here? Like they're a little backstory, and now they have their like own story in a comic book that stemmed from like this little like passage in a visual guide. So like those are the sort of things that like really add to the world building of Star Wars. And it's been a while. It's been since 2019 that we got one of these with the Rise of Skywalker, and they haven't been doing these for the series. We haven't gotten anything for this for Mandalorian. In fact, we were supposed to get one for Mandalorian, and they pulled it. Like, I guess, again, they're very secretive about that property specifically, so they're not giving us that. Although, I'm interested by this because they couldn't have waited like another year to do this one, because we're going to be missing like a big chunk of Andor since only half of it is done. But anyway, I mean, like the layouts, the images, this is a proper visual guide, which I'm excited for.
Oh yeah, I mean the visual guides are always really nice. It's just like you said, it adds like those little further details. I think for me, like one of the best visual guides I ever had, it was the one for Phantom Menace, just because like it added so many like little details about the ships, the creatures, everything. Like those type of visual guides are always really fun to get. So it's cool that they're doing another one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so that was the publishing panel. And we have a really cool booth that we had some images from for the Ahsoka area of the floor there. They had the Rebel mural that they had at Star Wars Celebration. They had like a maquette of Ahsoka. They have I don't know if you guys checked this out or not, but they had like a live action looking like Tuca cat or something, or Loth cat. It looks so weird seeing something that looks like it could only exist in animation and you see it in live action. It really reminds me of that dog creature from the Never Ending Story. Like that's the first thing that came to mind. What is that thing called? Atreyu or something? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a different dog. I know Atreyu, which is one of my favorite bands, got named after something in that movie. But this thing looks cool. And when I was at Galaxy's Edge, there's like a little like creature stall place you could buy like little like stuffed animals and stuff from, and they actually have like a sleeping loth cat. So that was interesting. But this one is like a little white one. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. Like, of course, Dave Filoni is gonna find a way to get this thing into live action. It looks really good. They have a close up of its face. They do great work. Let's see. We have another light. We have Marok's lightsaber. We have the starship, the Ahsoka starship, the T6 Jedi shuttle. So I do want to take a moment to just highlight the lightsaber designs for Shin Hali's and Balin Scrolls lightsabers. They both have like this kind of pommel that looks very similar to Cal Kestis's lightsaber. Like they're extra, they're extra long. The more room for the hands on the hilt. It's got that little pommel. Both of them do, and especially Balin's looks like it's more like Sith oriented because it has like those prong things on the emitter, which is like the end point of the lightsaber. So, I mean, I'm just so intrigued by those two characters and how they're going to fit in with the story because they got that kind of gray background. We were talking a lot about them last week's podcast, Ben, about these two. I wouldn't call them gray Jedis. I would say they're probably more like dark side users at this point because they are just flat out killing people. But it'll be cool to see how they factor in, and I'm liking the design of their characters, including their lightsaber hilts. That's all.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for their characters. I think for me, even more than like Grey Jedi or whoever, I feel like they're more like Dark Jedi. It seems like than anything.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's just their characters are going to be interesting just to see what where they end up leading. Like I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how far they make it through this series. If they're integral, if they're not, whatever. The great thing though about the trailer with those characters and with all the stuff we saw. Most of the time, the stuff we see in the trailers are in like the first 2 or 3 episodes. So, we saw plenty of stuff to go for the series.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the second episode ends because I guess it could be one of those situations where they felt like if the first episode airs, it's not really like enough to keep the viewer engaged. So they got to give us the 2 episodes, and there's a zinger at the end of those 2 episodes. It's like, oh, maybe Thrawn shows up at the end of episode 2, and it's like, all right, this is where stuff gets good. I gotta tune in first thing on Wednesday to watch it. Like that's what they gotta get the fans to be like, just like rabid for this storyline. So it took 2 episodes to get there, and that's what's probably gonna happen. And one last thing to talk about this week is the video games of Star Wars. It was, first off, I gotta give praise to Ubisoft. Respawn, as much as I love those Star Wars Jedi games, they are good. There's nothing bad about them in my eyes. They never really got a lot of time to shine, especially Jedi Survivor in the good old convention circuit. Didn't really have... It had presence at Star Wars Celebration. They had like the booth that was sponsored by them, but they didn't have like a booth to play it or anything. But Star Wars Outlaws had like a little cool like speeder bike you can get on, and it had like... It was actually like almost exactly what I did at the Wizarding World tour in London with Harry Potter, where like you got on a broomstick and it had like the little CGI thing. It was actually like that with a speeder bike. So I was really jealous of the people I got to go on one of my favorite vehicles in Star Wars. So they had that there, but they also had a panel. And the panel gave us a nice like 5-6 minute like little behind the scenes documentary of like some talking heads of the developers talking about their process for the game or whatever. So like it's nice getting that, some behind the scenes of the acting by Humberly, who's playing Kay Vest, the main character. So I did pick out a couple details that we didn't know before Comic-Con. So I'll just kind of run through those. First of all, this is a big one. Apparently, Jabba the Hutt is in the game, and we're actually going to be doing missions for him, going back and forth to his palace. And apparently, like, you could actually piss him off, and he's going to send bounty hunters after you. So remember, this is an open world game. Star Wars Outlaws is going to be one of those games where it's going to be like Red Dead Redemption, so you can kind of go around as you please, do certain missions at your own leisure, and just kind of hang out in places. So I love the idea that I could just literally hang out at Jabba's palace with all his, his ne'er-do-wells hanging out there. And apparently D. Bradley Baker is doing the voice of Jabba. And I never thought that could be a thing, but since I've seen him at several conventions, the fact that he could just master any creature. He's even doing Nyx, who is your like little BD-1 companion, if you will, that little new creature to Star Wars. So it's pretty neat to see that he's actually going to be voicing Jabba. I'm sure he's going to be doing a great voice. I mean, the guy is a voice of 1,000 clones. I'm pretty sure he could pull off Jabba.
I'll say, did he do? Wait, did he do the voice for the Jabba the Hutt animation version? I wasn't sure.
Oh, I never actually
I'm not
checked
sure.
to see who did that.
What Bradley D. Baker? Like, he does like Obi-Wan. Right? No, that's what's his name. I'm
Steve
thinking of
Sam.
Someone else. That's Taylor.
James Arnold Taylor.
Yeah. But no, Brad sounds like. I mean, sounds right. He would do it, but did he do Jabba in the Clone Wars?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Ben, you'll
Not
have
sure,
to do
but
some digging on
Yeah,
that.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, about to say, look, I think if I'm any video game developer, just get the voice actors to do them. Like, they Clone Wars, Rebels, like they do everything. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
that's smart.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Jabba and the bad people of the galaxy, the different syndicates, there are going to be different syndicates and different Imperial forces on like 4 or 5 planets I think they have so far. I think we have Tashara, which is the brand new planet developed for the game. That's going to be the main planet. It has a city that is built into a mountain. And it looks super cool. That I know there's screenshots floating around from the panel, and I don't think they're actually on the website. They might be. But yeah, it's pretty neat. I love when Star Wars puts things that are different but unique. And the developers are speaking at the panel saying they have a rule where it's like the story group, it's like 80-20. So 80% of an environment should be kind of, familiar to us as like humans. Like, okay, like we're in Tatooine. Yeah, obviously we have deserts on Earth. Like, that's cool. But then you have like crazy fantastical places that make up 20% of it that make it feel like it's Star Wars. So it can't be like too over the top. But I like how they were talking about the design process of this brand new planet Tashara, and how they actually went out to like an Eastern Africa savanna to actually get the feel for it. So that's cool, because this is going to be a location like we haven't really seen in Star Wars before. They were talking about how with their snowdrop engine, they're going to be using a lot of wind effects, like wind effects you've never seen in any other game before. Just things blowing through the wind, and just adding like an extra layer of immersion through that, and just like the different kind of flora and fauna, the different animals that are around. I'm excited to see this place, and I think there was a report that came out from another person before the convention that said like these planets are going to be massive. They're going to be like, if you look at like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is one of the biggest open world games to date, like it's going to be comparable to that game, split between like 3 or 4 planets, I think. So here we got this, we got Kijimi, we got Tatooine. Also on Tatooine, you're going to be able to go to Mos Eisley, so that's really exciting. And this entire time, you're traveling everywhere with a speeder bike that you can even customize. And they're modeling the speeder bike over like motocross. And I'm all for extreme sports. Like I picked up skateboarding again recently, so I'm all about that life. And just the fact that your character could do like tricks on the freaking speeder bike as she's like flying over these sand dunes or whatever kind of terrain is just like, that is so freaking cool to me. The fact that you can actually customize that. You can even customize the Trailblazer, which is your ship. you can customize Kay's outfits, and they actually affect her abilities, some of them, when you customize them. So even Nyx, like your little alien companion, it seems like you're going to be able to customize that creature. So they are doing all the right things, because again, when it comes to customization, that's how I get really immersed into these video games. Just look at Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Every like 30 minutes, I just feel the need to like randomize my appearance to look like somebody different, or change how Cal looks, because it's just so fun. It's so easy to do. So yeah, one last thing that they mentioned here was about this new crime syndicate. So far we have the Hutts confirmed, we have the Pikes confirmed, and we have the Sika clan, which is made just for the game. These guys are based off Kajimi. They have like a certain kind of hierarchy. They're kind of like a hive type of mind, or like, and they're very insect-like. So we haven't seen these guys in Star Wars before, but it's always great when we can start, sprinkling through these new things throughout the canon. Maybe we'll see them in the Bounty Hunters comic or something like that. But yeah, just let's widen out the world. Everybody should not be a Pike or a Gamorrean or Klatooinians. We see enough of those in Mandalorian, so I'm ready to see some new species, some new kind of guys with different kind of gear,
Oh yeah, I'm excited for the game, and that little documentary thing made me more excited for it. So like, I definitely recommend people to check it out, because it's worth a watch, and it's good just getting more of a feel, for the game. And yeah.
Did you say that this documentary, is it on YouTube? Did they stream
Yeah.
it?
Oh yeah,
It's on YouTube.
I could link
It's like 6 minutes.
Sorry, I didn't have enough time to put it in the notes.
That's okay. I'll have to check it out then, because I'm curious now to see what the world looks like. After hearing this, I'm like, okay, because obviously, like, I love the Star Wars games, as anyone knows, but I'm also very curious about how this game is different from the other ones. I think the last two Star Wars games that were released with Survivor and Fallen Order have been hits. So obviously the trajectory is up when it comes to the product being put out. That's pretty successful. So I want to check this out. I want to see what the world's like. I love the trailer, as we talked about that months ago. Yeah, I'm gonna check this out and see what it's like, because I'm curious to see what the game looks like and what they're trying to do with it. And again, if it's something that I'm interested in, it's another reason to motivate me to get a PS5.
Yeah, we already know you're getting one to play NCAA, right, or something like that.
Yep.
Damn right.
When's that coming out?
Next summer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so and this game is coming out 2024.
I might get it early, because I said, look, Spider-Man 2's coming out.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Because I like
the
those
first
Spider-Man
one?
games, so I'm gonna have to get that now. So it's like, we'll see.
Oh man. So yeah, I think all in all, San Diego Comic-Con was pretty good. We got all the things that we wanted as far as publishing. We even got some looks at the live action series through the props of Ahsoka. So there's a lot going on there. Next stop, New York Comic-Con. We'll see what kind of presence Lucasfilm has there in October. I think it's kind of hit or miss if the different the unions will still be on strike by then. Hopefully not. Hopefully everything will be cleared out by the end of the summer, hopefully. And we could all go back to just not worrying about that and just worrying about just simply enjoying entertainment again. But yeah, thanks guys for joining me this week. I know, Milton, you said you're going to be away on vacation or some time off for the next couple weeks, yeah?
Yes, that's correct. This weekend, this Saturday is my birthday. So me and the girlfriend are going out of town to a baseball game, and then we're hanging out with her friends on Sunday all day on their boat. So it's going to be a nice little birthday weekend for myself. And actually, Friday, the day before my birthday, we're going to like this old like theater to watch The Goonies.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's going to be a full weekend on my birthday. And then the following weekend, my little niece turns 1. So we're doing like a get together with my family that Sunday. So it's gonna be like an all day thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I always
family time and birthday celebrations the next 2 weeks.
I always forget that our birthday is like 2 or 3 days away, because mine is actually the 27th. Oh, Thursday.
Yeah.
So we'll both be celebrating in earnest next week. I'm gonna be here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be chilling. I'm gonna be going to probably to New York the next following Monday or whatever. But yeah,
that's what's up. Yeah, my one good friend, his name is also Chris. His birthday's on the 31st, so his is that Monday. So it's like, and then said my niece is the next week, so I'll be doing all that. So it's nice to get away and celebrate those things in life.
Oh yeah, very very good. And everybody can follow you on social media at Milton Weber 7.
Or on Instagram at Milton7Weber. Again, I'm always posting about like sports, funny stuff, some meal prep stuff, workout stuff. So check it out. Keep it positive. Yeah, man, come check me out, man. I'm a good follower. I try to keep it simple.
Heck yeah. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram talking Star Wars and fitness as I go through this diet phase. Down 3 pounds since last Sunday, so the diet's rolling good. And you can find me at Real Ben Maynard on both of those platforms.
All right, and you can find me here on the channel, youtube.com/Starrapters, where I post weekly videos. I'm going to have a lot of book reviews coming out. I'm currently reading Tales of Light and Life, an anthology for the High Republic, which launched early at New York Comic Con. Actually, I have it right here. I can show you guys. Forgot to mention this. Yeah, so this is really cool. So look out for that review pretty soon. And if you are watching and you actually prefer to listen, we actually have this available in podcast form on any podcast app, including Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, and many more. So yeah, join us next Sunday for whatever we'll be talking about. We still have some other news stories that have kind of gone by the wayside in our very busy couple weekends here. So who knows when we'll take some of those out of hiding and put them in here and talk about them. But yeah, that's going to do it for Milton, for Ben, for Chris, aka Starrapter. This was Outer Rim Transmission 115. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you, and transmission.